Well, quite a number of issues really to raise this morning. It's an ongoing conversation, but the next one for us is still on the amendment of the rules of professional conduct for legal practitioners in the country that has generated some major debate among legal practitioners. It's beyond what you see in the courts, really. It transcends that. And this morning, we're taking that on yet again to see if anything has changed really and where we're headed regarding that. And to shed more light on that, we have two gentlemen. Femi Aborishade is a legal practitioner, as well as Hannibal Uwaifo, the president, African Bar Association. They join us on the program this morning. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. If you can hear me, I'd like to begin with Mr. Aborishade. Okay, well, let's start with Hannibal first. And I understand that this has generated a lot of issues, Mr. Hannibal, between legal practitioners. And like I said, it's beyond just what you find in the courts. Have those issues been resolved with this amendment of the 2007 RPC?
Thank you very much for inviting me this morning. I want to begin by saying that as lawyers, we are eggheads, and there are bound to be one or two disagreements as we move along. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice is by law the chairman of the chairman of the General Council of the Bar, and he has proposed some amendments, or rather, the General Council of the Bar, from what we hear, met and proposed or intends to make an amendment, which is not quite pleasing to the Nigerian Bar Association. I believe that though amendments are not out of place, I also believe that the protest by the Nigerian Bar Association is not out of place. It's just a family misunderstanding. And I've had a discussion with the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Olumide Akpata, and I believe that they are trying to meet with the Attorney General to look at the issues that have been raised. And then I do know that very soon these issues will be resolved.
Mr. Osifo, just one moment. What is your position? Just one moment. If you can hear me, what is your position on this issue between the NBA and the AGF?
That is exactly what I'm saying. That there is no position yet because the parties are trying to resolve whatever differences that are there. As president of the African Bar Association, I'm a loyal member of the Nigerian Bar Association. And so it's difficult for me to say, oh, I support this, I support that. But what I'm saying is the position of the parties are that the proper things should be done, and the meeting is currently going on. I know the NBA, led by the president, will soon meet with the Attorney General.
Okay, I want to believe Mr. Uwaifo is still there. Just to be clear, what are those issues? Because for some people, when you talk about the stamp and the yearly money you have to pay for those stamps, they feel that it's a long stretch, especially because they wonder, why does this have to be a prerequisite for submitting court processes at the court? So is that one of the issues you have or you think is a major one, that if this is not resolved, then we can move forward?
Well, for me, I believe that anything that should be done to ensure that we identify the proper lawyers, anything that is done to ensure that the legal profession moves forward into the 2020, 2021 and beyond is acceptable. There is nothing wrong with the stamp and seal. There is nothing wrong with it at all. Although we have had some hiccups, although we have had some issues of delays in sending this stamp and seal to those who they are meant for, yet it is still a very veritable way of making the profession lucrative and prestigious the way it is. And it's also a way of identifying lawyers who are genuine lawyers. It's obvious that we have been able to identify non-lawyers who have been hiding under the cloak of practicing law using this stamp and seal issue. So there is nothing wrong with it. And I believe too that the parties should be able to dialogue and ensure that we sustain the legal profession into the next years to come, and to bequeath a profession that is unique right from centuries to those who are coming to take over power. So for us in the African Bar, we will continue to advise the parties to ensure that these issues are resolved amicably. We are one in the legal profession, and I can assure you this issue will be resolved. So there is no war between the NBA and the Attorney General. I'm quite sure of that.
Well, the NBA, the head of the NBA says, well, as far as he's concerned, that particular gazette should be ignored. And I mean, if you say there is no war, one wonders, with that kind of pronunciation, does it sound like we're headed for a major showdown here if the Attorney General put out a gazette saying that this is the amendment we have done, and the NBA president says it should be ignored? You still think there are no issues there?
I don't think so. In our profession, the Attorney General is the leader of the bar. The NBA president is the first among equals in the association where we all belong to, according to by statute. So it's not even voluntary as of today. So you can see that the parties are in a position to advance the interest of the bar. The Attorney General, being the official leader of the bar, has a role to play, especially the General Counsel of the bar. And the members of the General Counsel of the bar also have a role to play. And the NBA has a role to protect, it has a role to protect the larger interest, the large interest, the innermost interest, the unique interest of the Nigerian Bar Association. And so he has a right to make comments. Like I told you, those comments do not amount to war. They amount to an opinion. They amount to a statement of what they feel at the moment. At the end of the day, these parties will meet and the issue will be resolved. So I do not believe we should call it a war. I should believe we should say there's a disagreement.
Okay, well, I mean, if you check some of these synonyms, you realize that they almost mean the same thing. But I understand that point, that it's not as full-blown as it's been painted. But let's speak with Mr. Monday Obani, also a legal practitioner, who joins us on the program this morning to get his opinion. So, Obani, I'm sure you've been following this from day one when news broke about it. There are questions as to the procedure. Some say, I mean, this is maybe overreaching from the Attorney General, and some say, well, this is good riddance to bad rubbish, especially some of the areas that were amended. What is your take on this?
Well, my take is that, thank you very much for having me. My take is that it is wrong at this point in time for the Attorney General to do what he has done with the issue of amending the rules of professional conduct single-handedly without the input of the General Counsel of the Bar. That has always been how it's been done. The last rule that was made in 2007 had the input of the council, and then we are surprised that recently some people wrote to the Attorney General saying that they have formed a parallel Nigerian Bar Association. In fact, they called it New Nigerian Bar Association, and that letter was written directly to the Attorney General, and he promised to look into the merit of the application. And so the next thing that we are seeing is this issue of amending the rule single-handedly by the Attorney General, now removing the issue of stamp and seal, which is a particular measure that has been put in place in order to eliminate the issue of fake lawyers in the system. Now that any lawyer now or any person can file any court process without any stamp and seal of the NBA, that to me is something that is laden with ill motive and clearly meant to dismember the unity of the bar, as a whole. And so it does something that is done in good faith, and something that actually is very reprehensible, very condemnable. And I see no reason why the Attorney General will single-handedly, in a body of lawyers of over how many thousands in the country, carry out such a very far-reaching amendment of the rules of professional conduct without the input of even the Nigerian Bar Association, because there are 20 members of the Nigerian Bar Association that makes up that particular council of the bar. There was no input whatsoever from them and all that. So something is clearly wrong. So something is wrong somewhere. And I think that the high time the Attorney General retraces his step in order to ensure that the unity of the bar is clearly something that cannot be questioned.
I think one of the major issues here is whether the GCB, the General Council of the Bar, was consulted or not. Now, we've had questions as to whether, I mean, some people that have said the GCB was not consulted have an inside knowledge or inside understanding of what exactly went down. So do you have it on good authority that the GCB was not consulted in this?
Yeah, several members of that particular council have actually spoken. One of them is Sigwe. Sigwe was the former Secretary General of the Nigerian Bar Association, and he was the first person to issue a statement, a disclaimer. And in that statement, he is a member. There was no time there was any meeting convened in order to look into the rules of professional conduct, and several other members also. I mean, when you talk about a meeting, you give out a notice of meeting for a proper information to the members of that body in order for them to meet, in order to look at what you want to really amend. There was no time that meeting was conveyed. There was no notice of meeting whatsoever. So at what point did the Attorney General do that? And he has not spoken up to say, oh, there was a proper meeting. Up to now, the Attorney General has remained taciturn over this issue and all that, leading to a lot of suspicion in the system that, look, what is the motive behind it? Why at this point in time, especially with people writing to the Attorney General that they want a new body entirely? And the next thing you saw is this amendment that now says you can't have seal and stamp, by lawyers. And then the next thing that you can't pay practicing fee by certain lawyers in the system. So what is the motive behind it? And why the hurry? And so everyone has a right to clearly give an interpretation that clearly shows that maybe the Attorney General of the Federation want to actually dismember Nigerian Bar Association, and he's a member of the bar. And this is a man that is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Do you know that if you destroy Nigerian Bar Association, all those who claim to be senior advocates will no longer be relevant? We are trying to destroy ourselves. So somebody should speak to the Attorney General. The honor we have today as lawyers is because of Nigerian Bar Association. Nigerian Bar Association recommends you to be a judge. Nigerian Bar Association recommends you to be a senior advocate of Nigeria. The honor and unity today we enjoy is because there is one professional body called Nigerian Bar Association. Okay. Some people just stand up and begin to destroy that particular body, that made them whatever they are today. Mr. Malami is an Attorney General. He became Attorney General because he's a senior advocate of Nigeria.
The unity that is being enjoyed. I mean, you just referenced the purported formation of a parallel bar association by some group of lawyers, and you are saying that this is maybe related to that. So do you still think there's unity in the NBA?
No. The point is that there was an election. People were, were disenchanted and all that. Then the next thing was the issue of inviting El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State, to our conference, after which he was disinvited. And then the rumble and all that. People started making noise about creating a parallel body that El-Rufai was not given a fair hearing. And so we all said, look, this is not necessary. We have remained united all this while. What is the issue? Whatever issues are can be thrashed out, at the back. Let's come together and solve our problem rather than probably creating a parallel body. The next thing now you now saw is this amendment that was done in a manner that is clearly unilateral, without carrying the entire bar along, and then doing certain things that clearly is not even in the interest of the bar. You say you remove stamp and seal. This is a particular measure that has been put in place to checkmate the issue of fake lawyers that are in the system. And you are removing this particular, structure or whatever from the system without consulting the bar.
Okay.
Yes.
Just one moment. So this is where we are now. What should we do to resolve this impasse?
No, I'm very happy with the step that has been taken so far by the president of the bar, that is Mr. Olumide Akpata. He has been in consultation with the Attorney General, including the permanent secretary of Ministry of Justice, and I think they're trying to see what has gone wrong and how to resolve it. We have to resolve this issue, peacefully. That amendment that was done unilaterally, clearly wrong, and people are asking the Attorney General to actually retrace his step and let the right thing be done. Look, we are one, and we remain one. And I'm very happy that even the Attorney General, the bar leaders in the North, met with the present president and pledged their loyalty and said they're not interested in any parallel bar. So also
exactly. Just one moment. You've just mentioned that parallel bar now. So what is going to happen to mend fences so that this doesn't happen?
I think the president is doing so. He first of all held a meeting. That meeting was very, very massive. Many chairmen and secretaries of the Nigerian Bar Association from the Northern region attended, and they pledged their loyalty. They are not interested in any parallel bar, including those. There are some members that were named recently, informing that who are now disassociated themselves from that.
All right.
So the Attorney General should be building the unity of the bar, not destroying it. That is my advice to the Attorney General.
Okay. Mr. Osifo, how do you close on this issue? What are your expectations within the shortest possible time?
Well, you mean Mr.
Yes, please go ahead.
You mean Mr. Wifo, not Osifo?
Beg your pardon, Mr. Osifo. Mr. Wifo, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. My brother Mondo Bani has spoken very well. Like I said, the NBA is the unity of lawyers in Nigeria. And to comment briefly on the issue of the Northern, whatever they say, parallel path, I believe is dead on arrival. The African Bar Association, as a body and close friend of the Nigerian Bar Association, will never support such a move. It's dead on arrival. NBA is in existence as well of the law. And so I'm happy so far with the way the
Just one moment. Mr. Wifo, you heard Mr. Ubani say, just one moment, if you can hear me, you heard Mr. Ubani say that there was need for the Attorney General's office to consult with the NBA. Is that a legal requirement? Is this something that should happen by law? Is it a legal requirement for the NBA to be consulted before that action is taken?
Well, you don't. Well, legally, yes. Legally speaking, yes. And speaking morally, you don't shave the head of a group of people in their absence. Thanks to the late MP Abiola. You cannot overturn existing regulations of the Nigerian Bar Association, a group of us, without consultation.
Okay.
And that is where the NBA has the matter with the Attorney General.
All right.
So whether the Attorney General amended it unilaterally, whether he had a meeting or not, there was the need for full consultation with the NBA so that these issues do not have arisen.
All right, Mr.
Like I said,
I think that's a great place to anchor. Right. I think that's a great place to anchor, Mr. Hannibal Uwaifo, the President, African Bar Association, as well as Mr. Monday Obani, who's a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this morning.
And of course, we have a few, yes, thank you. And we have a few conversations from you contributing to the program. We begin with this one by OJ, who says, I seem to be in agreement with the DG of Ijaw Forward Movement. Organized labor should rather use its strength to get government to actualize projects and policies that would alleviate people's sufferings.
Well, Badang Joshua says, it baffles me so much that in this same country, we have an individual who's building a refinery that even the governments can't wait to see it start working. With government, on the other hand, who can't make one of the 4 refineries work. Says we don't have the people's labor.
And Professor Nakena says, until we look inward to diversify our mono economy, liberalize the energy and oil and gas sectors, cut recurrent expenditure, cut interest rates to single digits, invest in education and health, our annual budget of $20 billion will continue to impoverish the citizenry. Wow.
Oh, that interest rate part, it's a major one. But Dikwa says there's nothing like full deregulation as long as NMPC is still the sole importer of fuel.
Also, we've got your message, Ayo Deji from UK. Thank you so much for your contribution, and everyone who's joined us on Twitter today. That's the show. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Kaido Kikilu. Do stay safe.